Hey, it's the second night of Navaratri, the 9 nights of the goddess, this Hindu celebration of the triumph of Durga, the tough going, badass warrior goddess who is the mother of the universe, who creates it and sustains it and destroys it, who is the power of life itself, and her triumph over the demon of the buffalo, the demon of dogma, the stuckness in the world, the big corporations of the world, the religious fundamentalism of the world, the brutality of capitalism, and the patriarchy that is so hard to break through, right? The demon, Mahishasura, the buffalo demon, is the parts of us and the parts of society that are difficult to move, that are difficult to get through or get around. It's the places where the oppression and the systemic racism and again the brutality of capitalism and the misogyny are so ingrained that we have to look through and work through the layers of it in all kinds of different ways. And Durga is the goddess that helps us find new ways. And the way that she finds with this demon is through her softness. It's not through her rage necessarily, although she must move through that as well. But it's what ends up being that which helps her win the battle is her vulnerability. It's her femininity. It's her softness. She places the soft part of her foot on the buffalo demon's head. When he is in the space between buffalo and men, he's in the space between. She finds him in that liminality. She finds his vulnerability, and she places the softness of her foot on his forehead, which the secret is that what ends up melting him and dissolving him and reabsorbing him in the earth, in the soil, is that when she places the softness of her foot on his forehead, he sees her feminine parts. He sees the receptive, generative energy of the universe. He sees the vulnerability and the softness, and that's what ends up destroying him. Isn't that great? So, so this holiday represents this battle. Now, before Durga goes into battle, the gods gather, and this is a big story, and I'm telling it in little bits and pieces, very shortly here. But what happens is that this god is threatening the universe, and all the gods come together, and they form Durga by sitting in a circle or standing in a circle and projecting each their own light into the center of the circle, and from the heat and light of all of them joined together, Durga rises. Durga is formed. But she doesn't go straight into battle with Mahishasura. She goes and retreats into a cave, and she stays in the cave for thousands of years because she needs to do her sadhana. She needs to do her spiritual practice. She needs to meditate. She needs to do her asana practice. She needs to call her therapist every day and talk for an hour and work through her childhood wounds. She needs to do plant medicine. She needs to do pranayama. She does breath work. She practices martial arts. She lifts weights. She does CrossFit. She works on herself in every way possible. And only then is she ready to go fight the buffalo demon. And even then she doesn't feel ready because, we never feel ready. Sometimes we gotta emerge out of the cave not feeling ready. And the cave is of course a symbol of the womb. It's the womb of all creation. It's the generative and receptive, again, power of the universe. She goes into her own inner space so that she can create who she is in the flames, in the tapas, in the heat of her austerities, of her practice, of the commitment and and devotion that she has to working on herself. And the form of today's night of Navaratri is Brahmacharini. And this is the form of Parvati, who is a form of Durga, who is a form of Kali. They're all a form of each other. Brahmacharini is the disciple of the infinite. The word Brahma is in Sanskrit is it's first of all the god Brahma, who is the creator, who is a grandfatherly kind of a character who gives boons to everybody, including the demons, including Mahishasura, because he can't help it. Because if someone does their sadhana, if someone practices and generates their strength, if someone works with their power, the universe rewards them with more power, right? Because this is not a moral universe. This is a universe of strength and power. So good things happen to bad people, and bad things happen to good people, right? Because it's not a moral universe. And so Brahma is this creative power, and it's also the expanse of the universe. It's the infinite. It's the vastness of the cosmos. And Charini is the feminine of the word charya. And charya is it's disciple, student, but it's also conduct. Sometimes brahmacharya is thought of or is translated or is explained as someone who is practicing celibacy as part of their spiritual practice. But it doesn't necessarily have to be. Brahmacharini is the student, the disciple of the universe, of the infinite. And this is as a form of as Durga, it's her going into the cave and doing the work and studying and practicing and doing that for a long period of time, so that she builds her strength in a real and deep and profound way. As Parvati, this is also another big story, and we're not going to go into all of it, but Parvati, when she was a little girl, she knew she was going to marry Shiva. She loves Shiva from the beginning of time. You know why? Because she's the reincarnation of Sati. If you haven't watched yesterday's video, you can go into that, but she is another incarnation of the goddess, and she is born loving Shiva, and her parents are very worried about her because he's Shiva, right? He's ash smeared and dreadlocks and snakes in his hair, kind of a meditator dude who doesn't really engage in the world, and she is born knowing that she wants to draw him out of his asceticism and back into the world. And she tries to do that when she grows up, and she's big enough to leave the house and look for him. When she finds him, she tries to do that through seduction, through eroticism. She thinks she can get the ascetic out of his asceticism through her eroticism. This is a big story that has a lot of details. Some of them really hot. We won't get into that right now, but she doesn't succeed, and then she goes. Of course, she's disappointed. Of course, she's bummed. Of course, her ego is a little bruised. How can I not get Shiva to want me? Kind of a feeling, but that doesn't send her into despair. It depresses her. It bums her out. But she's the goddess. She's resourceful. She goes back into herself, and she tries to figure out what to do. And she realizes that where she needs to meet him and pull him back out into the world is through the inner world, through her own asceticism. So she goes into the forest and she practices, and she does 108,108 sun salutations for 108 years, and she chants Om Namah Shivaya. She has in her hand the japa mala. She has she kind of like a rosary, right? So she has the rudraksha beads so that she can chant Om Namah Shivaya 108 times, and she does that again for 108 years and 108 times an hour, and right, and she does that, and she stands on one leg in tree pose for 1,000 years, and she sleeps in the snow when it's cold and she's naked and she sits in a circle of fire in the summer months, and she's drenched in rain for months upon months in the monsoon weather, and she is doing all the practices that she can think of. She breathes breath of fire until she blasts into flames herself, and she practices Nadi Shodhana pranayama until she sees stars. And she just goes wild. Her devotion and her desire for Shiva send her into such powerful process of practicing and cultivating her strength that you would think she forgot about him at this point. But of course she didn't, because her desire and her devotion make her stronger, and right, it makes her commitment stronger so that she can practice, and then her practices and her discipline make her stronger, and she learns from everything. And that's really one of the invitations, I think, for me at least, of this form of the goddess. It's the invitation to learn from everything, that everything that comes our way, that everything that life puts us through, in this case, she puts herself through a lot, that everything that we put ourselves through, because we do put ourselves through a lot. Sometimes I feel like one of the biggest challenges that I have is with myself. It's with my inner conversation. I could be so mean to myself. Oh my goodness. Do you know the feeling? Do you go through that too? So she is that power of receiving anything and everything that she goes through and transforming it in the heat of her commitment to transformation, right? And through that, she develops more strength and more power. And she learns more, and she keeps learning. She's disciple, Charini, right? She's the discipleship. She's the disciple and the discipleship of the infinite. And that does get Shiva's attention eventually, and they do end up getting married, and they have children, and you would think they live happily ever after, but they don't, because problems do continue as we go on with life. We get what we want in life, or we get what we think we want, and then new problems occur, right? You don't need me to tell you that, you know that. So she is the power to keep learning. One of my best friends calls that kind of energy that comes at us from the universe that is really challenging for us. She calls it your curriculum, and I love that. It's everything that forces us into the fire of transformation is our curriculum, and anything that challenges us and anything that throws us into great intensity is an invitation to learn. Now, of course, we would rather have an easier time, and we can find ways to cultivate more ease, but as life has the tendency to keep challenging us, we are invited into the process of learning from it, to keep growing through the hardships. And if you want to do some deep sadhana, I would love to invite you to join me for Bond with Your Life, which is an in-depth, soulful, and somatic journey through the bandhas, which are great yogic disciplines that are. We're going to use them as somatic cues to help us in particular ways in moments in life where we need more groundedness, where we need to grow our confidence, where we need to access our capacity for reflection and for drawing and pouring more pleasure into our lives in all kinds of ways. And it's a mythopoetic journey, and all the details are on mamamandala.com. The link is in the bio. And I would love for you to join me for that, because it is going to be incredible. It starts on October 13th, and I can't wait to do that with you. And before we leave this beautiful container that we've created together for the last few minutes, let's chant together. Let's call this power of discipleship from within us, the Brahmacharini way, She holds in the other hand, so I told you about the japamala, but in the other hand, she holds a pot of water, and that is the representation of the womb. It's the cave again. It's the generative and creative power of the universe. It's water. All life comes through it, and it's a pot. It's the yoni. It's the womb. It's the feminine way. It's the softness, but it's a vessel. It receives into it, and it generates life. So there's a complicated, beautiful, and I love it. It's actually one of my favorite mudras, but we're not going to do that one today, the yoni mudra of the complicated ones. But we're going to do a simple version of yoni mudra, and we're going to basically make a triangle with our hands like so. So the thumbs touch and the index fingers touch. So you make a little triangle, a little yoni, and you can place it on your lower belly. And it doesn't matter whether you are whatever gender or gender fluidity you find yourself in today. You have in you the symbolic power of the womb, of the generative and receptive powers of the universe. And you can soften your eyes as the mudra rests on your lower belly. And you can turn your attention to your breath. You don't have to do it fast. You can go slow. You can allow your eyes to close if your eyes want to close, or if they want to stay open and just simply soft. That is totally fine. Whatever feels most resourceful for you. Breathe and receive yourself where you are. And notice what you can learn about yourself and about your life in this moment. Slow your breath down so that you can allow where you are to be welcomed, and allow where you are to welcome you. Receive the sounds that may come from outside your place or mine. Receive the distractions as well as the invitation into focus. And I'm going to chant, and you can join me whenever you feel up for it, or you can simply listen to it and see what comes through you, because mantra and mudra have an evocative qualities to them. So allow yourself to notice and receive what comes through you and to you as you hear the mantra, as you hold the mudra. And notice what there is to learn from, whatever thoughts, whatever feelings, and invite this conversation of discipleship with life into the practice. Om Devi Brahmacharini Namaha. 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 Devi Brahmacharini Namah. Om Devi Brahmacharini Namah. Breathe and listen and feel. Notice where the teachings land for you, where the mantra moves in you, and what is poured into the mudra for you. And from this simpler version of Yoni Mudra, you can bring your hands in front of your heart, and Anjali Mudra to turn them into the heart's deepest offering. And from the heart, offer yourself this gift of discipleship, because it does shift the way that we interact with the ups and downs, with the challenges, with the flames of the intensity of a world that keeps throwing at us opportunities to learn. Thank you so much for joining me, and may this second day of Navaratri bring you whatever it is that you need right now. Thank you. I really appreciate you being here. And don't forget to join us for Bond with Your Life. I will leave a link for you in the description of the video if you are seeing this on YouTube. And thank you so much. And I can't wait to connect with you. Mwah. Namaste.